Hello everyone, DM Johnny here from Dungeons & Dice, and today we're going to go over the 10 most powerful races in D&D because a lot of them just got updated. Well, not just, but they did get updated. Let's get started. For the first one, we're going to go with one that's been overpowered since basically it came out, and that is the ASMR. Real quick, if you're wondering why it looks different, mic issues, had to reshoot. All right, so the ASMR, it's been nerfed a bit, but there's still a very powerful route to take. Gets a light cantrip, kind of whatever. Necrotic and radiant resistance, situational but good. Free heal, healing hands. This used to only be one point. I guess it could still technically be 1 point, but now you get it to roll a d4 equal to your proficiency bonus. So at level 1, you'll be able to use this twice a day. Free heal, regardless of if you're a healer or not. That's really good, kind of strong. Actually kind of OP, quite frankly. At level 3, you kind of get to pick your sub race where you can become the necrotic tiefling or the radiant one. The necrotic one now, instead of flying, it gets a fear and you do necrotic damage. No. If you can't fly and you have wings, I don't know what you're doing with your life, like the Kenku. I don't know what they're doing. And then the second one is like AoE radiant damage, which is cool, but it hits your allies as well. Or at least it doesn't specify that your allies are immune to it. So I read it as it hits your allies. So that one kind of cuts that one off too for me. And then the third one actually gives you wings you can fly with. I like these ones a lot. Well, flying's OP, but the thing is with the Aarakocra now and the owl people, you can't fly with medium and heavy armor. And with these wings you can. Granted, it only lasts a minute, but that's still really cool. So that's one good part about it. The other good part is that you'll do an additional radiant damage based on your proficiency bonus. If you think about it from the perspective of I'm a barbarian, I'm already going to do an extra 2. This is already and another 2. Granted, it's once per attack, but you won't get extra attack till 5 anyways. But it adds up. A one-handed fighter who's using the the extra damage, one-handed fighting style, the extra 2 plus the other 2, you see it can stack really well. So it's just, quite frankly, one of the best races and has been since it's come out. For number 2, we are going to go with a newer race from the Spelljammer one, and that is the Autognome. Autognome, it seems like kind of, quite frankly, the perfect cleric. They do get like a little bonus to their AC because they are a construct, so it's like 13 plus a dex modifier. Not great for clerics, but just a base AC is going to be strong. On top of that, as they are a construct, they don't have to eat or sleep or drink. They just have to go in like a powered down state. Advantage on poison and becoming against poison damage, and advantage on not becoming poison, immunity to disease, and advantage on becoming paralyzed as well. Pretty big. The other big thing, what I like, is if you have mending, this is why I say it's great for a cleric, is when you mend yourself, or if any of your allies are clerics with mend, you get to roll a hit die and then you take that as your HP, which is pretty clutch. Granted, at like level 1 and 2, you only have 2 of those, but as you get higher and higher levels, yeah, that's a lot of free heals from mend to cantrip, which is pretty cool. On top of that, you get a couple of tools, proficiencies that you want. I'd probably go like Tinker's Tools because that makes sense for an Autognome, then, you know, whatever you want for your flavor. And you get basically a free guidance on yourself up to your proficiency modifier. But what I really like about it, it doesn't say like, it's not called guidance. I don't remember what it's called, but it's an extra D4. And it doesn't say it doesn't stack with guidance. So again, if you're a cleric, you're basically getting an extra D8 if you're using that on your skills or abilities and things like that. Autognome's pretty tight. Check it out. Number 3, I could honestly just say the name and everyone be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Changelings. Changelings, they're very specific at what they do, but they're very good at it. Being able to swap basically what you look like free daily, when most people have to use disguise self as a spell, puts you in a different league from people. Granted, it takes an action, but there's no limit to how many times you can do it per day. So you could hide in combat, pop out as someone else. Now granted, they'll probably know who you are, but if you're running from someone, then you switch. It's all good. You just kind of, I don't know, I just saw them go that way. On top of that, the proficiencies they can get from the race are all the the charisma ones, right? You got deception, you got maybe not intimidation, but I don't know why I'd get that anyways, and persuasion on top of a couple of others. Proficiency with deception on a changeling is great. Obviously, you're going to be able to deceive people because you look how you're supposed to. In fact, your DM might not even make you roll for certain situations. I think it's designed for a very specific kind of player, one that likes to fool around a little bit, get into a little trouble, and then be like, boop, oh no, I'm a gnome now. I was a dwarf a second ago? Nah, different guy completely. You went down that way. Number 4 is my favorite race. My players will tell you this, I put them in all my campaigns, and that's the Tieflings. They've been adjusted. I only like a few of them now. I used to like the whole Hellish Rebuke thing, really liked. I still like Hellish Rebuke on them, by the way. It's the second level, which is 3d10. I know that falls off, but it's free and it's daily. How many reactions do you have unless you're counterspelling? Why not? But the one I like now is, I thought it was perfect for a paladin. Let me look at it real quick. The Legacy of Avernus one. You get basically Thermatagy, which, whatever, who cares? But Searing Smite and Branding Smite free daily. First off, very flavorful for a tiefling. But on top of that, your paladin, you now basically have free sort of Divine Smites, right? Searing Smite I think is like a D8 or something. Then the Branding Smite's a little bit more powerful. But they're both free per day and they're based off of your charisma modifier. And as a paladin, you're already doing that. So it's actually really cool. That's why I really like this one. Another one I actually like is the typical variant tiefling that they have. They've got a couple of cool spells as well. But if you want to go check out our Patreon, probably should do it over there. We also have made some variant tieflings ourselves. Basically half races. So the way it's in D&D basically is like tiefling's almost like half demon, half human. We have like half tiefling, half dragonborn, half tiefling, half dwarf, half tiefling, half goblin. I know goblins probably aren't going to be allowed in your campaign, but still, go check it out. They get a bunch of cool things. Some of them get wings, some of them get a headbutt. There's the dragon breath. There's a couple other cool things as well. $1 a month, you get access to that. And I should also mention, this list isn't really going to have any of those monster races because I assume your DM's not going to let you be a bugbear in the middle of town, because I wouldn't. So that's why they're not here. Anyways, check out our Patreon, check out our variant tieflings. Let's move on to the next one. Number 5 is funny. I just got done saying we're not using the monster races. The Yuan-Ti. The Yuan-Ti have been pretty overpowered since they've come out. Overpowered, quote unquote. These are probably more for spellcasters, but they can fit anybody. You get a poison spray cantrip. Really cool cantrip, but hit and miss for sure. I do like having a free suggestion, especially if you're a caster. Suggestion is one of those charms that doesn't have a ton of power, but it also doesn't, like, if you fail, they're not like, oh dude, that guy tried to charm me, I'm gonna start a scrap. And of course, the most important thing they have is that they can speak, they have animal friendship towards snakes. How clutch is that? No, actually, the most important thing they have is that they have resistance to all magical effects, period. That is insane. That's very powerful. That's a level, what, 7, 8 paladin aura? And you get it at level 1? Come on now. Yuan-Ti? OP. For number 6, we're going to go with a race I recommend for barbarians because that's what I'm currently using it as, and that is Goliath. It's the most classical, outside of half-orc, the most classic barbarian race there is. You get advantage on pushing and pulling and picking up things that are like a size heavier than you, as well as proficiency in athletics. The big thing about this, and when they changed it to be basically, hey, you can do this amount of times equal to your proficiency modifier, that's when these guys became real to me. And that's, you can use a reaction to roll a d12, add your con modifier, and that damage is completely negated. On a barbarian, where you're already cutting your damage in half, this will potentially mean that you just take 0 damage, or maybe 1 or 2 damage. It's not really a big deal. You do get cold resistance as well, but you know, that's only useful if you're not going the bear totem barbarian. For number 7, we're going to go with the Vedalken. I'm not actually sure. No one's ever used this in my game before, but I've used them a couple times. I'm not sure how they're pronounced, but I really like them. They are one of those races that you get like 2 int and 1 wisdom. You don't get to choose. I mean, your DM would probably let you, but base, you don't get to choose. What I like about this is that it's got a little bit stronger of a buff than a typical gnome. You just get blanket advantage on all wisdom, intelligence, and charisma saving throws. Now the gnome, that's only for magical effects, which most of these will be magical effects, but you never know. It's just good to like, oh, this check I automatically have advantage on. Plain and simple. It's really cool. And on top of that, when you go with your tools, you get to add a D4 similar to the auto gnome, except that it's not limited per day. You can just use it over and over. I think it's for certain skill checks as well, as long as they're attached to the race. But yeah, a D4, again, Cleric, D4, perfect. They can also breathe underwater, but they can hold their breath for an hour, but that's gonna be pretty situational. Nice for a little extra thing, but you know, it's like a C tier situation unless you're in a water campaign. So yeah, the Vedalken, whatever they're called. Number 8 is the Warforged, which they have nerfed because, well, that thing was super OP when it came out. I remember something like, so wait, it's not technically heavy armor, so I can rage? And it's like, yeah, I guess the technically rules as written. The old freaking Warforged, you could have like 18 AC in rage. It was pretty nuts. And the new one, still pretty strong, not quite that strong. Now you just get an additional 1 AC period, and you can still wear heavy armor, which again, you're gonna have the most armor, so you could potentially go like, if you have a shield, you could start, depending on your class, you could probably be at like 20 AC, pretty good. That's why I think they're really strong, because if you start at 20 AC, there's only one direction to go really, and that's up, more AC. They snowball very fast. On top of that, similar to the Autognome, they don't gotta eat, they don't gotta drink. When they sleep, they're still active, they just don't move. Resistant to poison, immunity to disease. These constructs, man, I'm telling you, they're OP. For number 9, this should come as no surprise. Variant human, the custom lineages, anything that's gonna let you take a feat at level 1. I mean, if you look at the new 1 D&D, you pretty much get to pick a feat at level 1 anyways. It's very selective on what you get to pick, but it's obviously the direction they're trying to move to. And be able to pick a feat at level 1 means that at level 4, you can take your stat boost, you don't even gotta worry about it, or you can get another feat and then you have double the feats because of this. Just having the option to take a feat at level 1, I mean, let's think about it from the Cleric's point of view, maybe, or even a Druid. Anybody that's gonna have these concentration spells early, they get the Warcaster, they don't gotta worry about it, especially if you're someone who likes to do Bless. I used to like to do that out of my Paladin, and then I get smacked, and it was like, well, there's that. So yeah, variant, anything that's gonna give you, as I said, the feat at level 1, super good. And for number 10, we're gonna go with the Fur Bog, which has grown on me actually recently. And I don't know, your DM might count this as a, yo, is this guy for real right now? These guys are cool. They get a once per day free detect magic or disguise self. They'll find uses for that, certainly. You can speak with plants and give them little basic commands, but they can't actually understand plants. That's like a level 3 spell, so that makes sense. But they can give them little commands and they might listen, right? Like, hey, could these vines move so the path opens? Yeah, why not? The strongest part to me is that it's bonus action. It can turn invisible for 6 seconds, only 6 seconds, but 6 seconds, that's all you need sometimes. That'll get you out of a jam or reposition yourself to a better spot. Or if you're a rogue, you know, boom. I don't know how everyone else does it, but I give advantage when they're stealth, so it's almost a crit and then maybe even more sneak damage. You can't only turn invisible the amount of like proficiency, so it'll be only 2 at level 1, but still 6 seconds of invisibility twice per day. I mean, players are gonna be able to find a use for it. Okay, there you go. There are the 10 strongest races, at least, according to me. If you like a different race, please leave a comment down below. The only one I haven't checked out is the Grung. So that one might be stronger, but it doesn't look stronger, I'll say that much. And if you liked what you saw, please check out the links below. Check out the Patreon, $1 a month, get you access to all sorts of magical items and other cool goodies. Check out the Discord as well. If you're already a patron, thank you very much, I do appreciate it. And if you're one of those $5 ones, I got it right this time. It's on the right, I remembered. Thank you so much. Going on to our 2nd month, we're moving up. 500 subs almost. Also, thank you very much for that. And if you liked what you saw and got what you needed, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys in the next video. Later, Gators.